And now it's time for this week's show and tell, the I'm so confused edition.
Well, Laurie, I feel like there are a million things that we could have put in this segment. At least for me personally, I feel super confused about many aspects of life right now. So, the thing that I want to bring to the table today that's been really hard for me to process is the war in Iran. I don't want to get stuck into politics because trust me, I can, as you know. I mean,
Although this is a very political issue, right?
I
It's
mean,
not like you're saying it's not a political issue.
it's absolutely the politics are relevant, but not to our conversation.
I think that's an important distinction to make. Like, we still have to process these things outside of just the wackadoo macro politics on
Right.
this sort of stuff. It has a micro influence. So anyway, I'm sorry I spoke over you. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, it's hitting everyone hard in different ways because it's not just about the politics. And that's why I want to talk about it. It's about the confusion. My first step into activism was the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, really Iraq. So I think going back into a war in the Middle East is extremely triggering for a lot of people. And there's a lot to unpack there. But the thing that is confusing me, besides all of the nuances of being in war that's not congressionally approved, but I can't track what's happening, what's true, what's false. I don't know what's going on. And I feel like this is the first international conflict where I literally, as someone that's highly engaged, highly invested, I don't understand what's going on, right? I feel like one day we have an agreement, the next day things are getting blown up, the next day we're in charge of the strait, the next day Iran's in charge of the strait, the next day we're at a peace agreement, the next day we're not at a peace agreement. I really don't understand what is going on, and I'm extremely confused about it. I mean, you can be confused about congressional authority. You can be confused about the constitutional implications. You can be confused about how we got here. But I am fascinated by the fact that we're here and I'm still extremely confused on the day to day. I am so
100%.
confused.
I don't have any clarity for you here.
No, no one does. I mean, trust me, I've gone to every TikToker, every news outlet, and no one really knows what's going on except we don't know.
Yeah, and it adds strain.
It breaks down a lot of the confidence we have
Yeah.
in being able to understand. Yeah, I mean, these are our tax dollars. These decisions aren't being made in a vacuum. And so, it's like your kid coming to you and being like, I need 100 grand to go do this thing. And that's all you got. And they're like, well, the thing's canceled. The thing's back on. The thing's canceled. I'm still spending the money.
Now in a special trust fund.
Yeah, I'm just so confused with what's going on with international politics in America. And there are so many confusing things. I don't even have time to unpack it. But I'm so confused.
I mean, I kind of think, I hate to say it, but I think it's by design. I think it's by design because many people are very distraught and concerned about what's happening. And part of how that concern is being amplified through our nervous system is by a lack of reliable communication and lack of trust in our systems to provide that.
This really goes back to last week's episode where we talked about uncertainty. I mean, we are now creating a matrix of bad emotions, right? Uncertainty, confusion. They all are kind of being bundled into our international relations.
Well, yeah, it's hard. I mean, for Americans who have tax dollars and have come to this country through many different stories and avenues, and our ancestors have all invested in the equity of America, it feels like it must be somewhat intentional for there to be this much confusion around, because the story we've always told ourselves is that we are empowered citizens. I do not feel empowered sitting in this situation. I feel horrified watching, wondering what is happening. I mean, there wasn't a good why for Iraq either.
Well, I want to clarify, in Iraq, they came out and they misrepresented the situation. I mean, we know that now, but at least there was a congressional hearing. And people respected Colin Powell. People respected Condoleezza Rice at the moment. And those voices came to us and said, hey, America, you don't need to be confused. Here's why we're doing what we're doing. Right. There has been none of that. And so, yeah, it's a lot harder.
I don't know what to say other than I'm really confused and concerned as well.
Well, and I think our coping skill this week of curiosity doesn't help when you can't access
So
data.
I think it does help. So it's interesting you say that because I understand where you're going, I think, with that. And we can talk about this more when we get to the skill. But I think it does help because I think the only thing that's going to get us out of this situation is people utilizing their voices to vocalize how messed up this is, how
Right.
disempowering this feels as a citizen, how un American this feels. Having the curiosity to understand how did we get so off course in my mind is going to be one of the few things that could get us potentially back on course. But it
Yeah.
will require regulation and difficulty sitting in the uncomfortable truth, which is that we were never this perfect nation that we were told we were. And by being told these things and not learning to look at our own scars and flaws and find a way to move forward collectively versus just certain groups, we've been distracted from actually doing the work.
Yep.
So I show and tell is a little bit closer to home, but may explain why I'm a little out of sorts today. I'm so confused because I got hurt. I broke my leg, and now all my blood flow is in my legs, and my brain's not working like it normally does. And I'm like so confused. I'm so overwhelmed. I've got so many feelings.
Wasn't the fall
Um,
confusing itself?
the fall was confusing itself. There were things that happened after the fall that were emotionally traumatic. I'm healing. I'm getting through. I'm about
Yeah.
2 weeks after this happened now. I am making progress, but I am at the reality of the fact that I have multiple months of healing ahead of me. And I don't feel like myself because my body is focused on healing. My body is actually doing the right thing by focusing on healing. But for somebody that is as high functioning as me, this is really challenging. This is one of the reasons I tell everybody if exercise is the only thing in your toolkit, and you get hurt and you can't exercise, you got to have more in the toolkit. So thankfully I have more in the toolkit, but I miss going out and going on my walks. I miss getting on my Pilates reformer. I have a little scooter, like a knee scooter, so I'm hoping to get out with that. But right now, getting out for even just like an hour or two at a time is like so exhausting for me because my body's healing. One interesting thing I didn't realize about swelling, I learned from the emergency room when we swell, all of that blood and everything that's going towards your hurt appendage or extremity is bringing not just the blood to kind of protect it, but also bringing all the nutrients and everything to help you start the healing process. So
Oh.
the swelling, while painful, uncomfortable, ugly, is actually your body doing what it needs to do to make sure to start to heal the injury. And so I appreciate that about my body, but I'm so tired of being confused and overwhelmed and feeling like I'm just not talking straight because I just don't feel good.
Well, you've been a trooper. I know you've been trying to cope through it and you're doing a
Yep.
good job. But I've been so confused about your situation too. I still don't understand the fall, and
It
I
was just
never
three
will.
shallow steps. That's all it took. I tripped over something on the stairs. Nobody can tell me what that was. I wasn't in the right mind to investigate. I asked the facility that I was at to investigate, and they said they didn't find anything. I was in a situation where I fell, and my fall was inconvenient to what was happening. And the people pleaser in me showed up, and,
The hangover from people pleasing.
it's tough. It's really tough. And it made me realize some things about some situations and some people that I've been spending time with, that just some realities of that are challenging to deal with too. So it's not just the broken bone, it's also a little bit of a broken heart. I'm going to get back. I'm doing everything I can do to get better. And that's the priority. So if I seem a little off in this episode, that's why my brain's just not totally working straight.
Yeah. Are you doing good, Lori? Hang in there.
Thanks, Crimson.